Welcome to GamblingSites.org's This Week in Boxing, where we'll be looking ahead to this weekend's big fights, as well as taking a closer look at some of the bigger news of the day and how it could impact one of the more hotly anticipated bouts that's coming up in the next couple months. I'm Drew Goldfarb, joined by Rick Rockwell. Rick, we're going to start with Top Rank and their big ESPN pay-per-view card coming up on April 20th. What fight jumps out to you from this card from a betting perspective?
This card did not offer a lot of betting value. There was a lot of matchups that we had clear-cut favorites. And the card's all about the main event. It's all about Crawford versus Khan. It's all about whether or not Khan can basically survive the fight. I'm thinking, other than that, there's more intrigue in the Fox boxing event this weekend than there is with this one in terms of some betting value and stuff. The pay-per-view is all about Crawford. It's all about Crawford versus Khan. And honestly, we're going to be watching one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the sport on that pay-per-view. And we're going to see him stake a claim to being the best pound-for-pound fighter. And hopefully after this fight, he lines up a unification bout with one of the other welterweight champs. That would be the biggest news to come from this whole weekend. That would be the biggest news for boxing, is if Crawford easily wins, which everybody thinks he will. And then the news would be he fights Spence or Thurman or somebody else, Pacquiao, even though Pacquiao and Thurman look like they might go head-to-head. But it's all about trying to get some of these belts unified now, because the biggest fights in boxing, outside of a few of the heavyweights, which we will talk about in a minute, is going to come from the welterweight division.
Well, over on Fox this weekend, Premier Boxing Champions will hold a primetime event in Carson, California. What are you most looking forward to there?
I actually think there's more intrigue in this event than there is with the pay-per-view we were just talking about with Crawford versus Khan. First of all, the main event in this one is Garcia versus Granados, or however you pronounce it. I slaughter the names. I don't care. That's part of the fun of writing about them and covering the sports. It's just slaughtering names. So, but with that said, Garcia has to prove whether or not he's still an elite fighter in the welterweight division. He's lost twice, and both of them come to Porter and Thurman, who are champs in the division. And so people are thinking, well, he might, have taken that step down. If you ask Garcia, of course, if you ask most boxers or, MMA fighters or whatnot, they'll tell you they're still great and they're still championship caliber. For Garcia this weekend, it's all about him winning convincingly. If he does over a hard-hitting vet in Granados, who, he has the toughness to make this fight a challenge, a real challenge for Garcia. But if Garcia wins this either by stoppage or a clear-cut unanimous decision, it's going to put his name back into the conversations with other title holders. And right now, if we don't start seeing some more unification bouts, Garcia's name will pop up as potential either rematch with Thurman, or be in line to take on Crawford, or maybe something like that. Like I said, the welterweight division is where the excitement is at right now in boxing outside of the heavyweight division. Also on this card, you got what is his name? Figueroa, whatever. He's fighting for the interim title in what probably will be the opening bout of the Fox broadcast portion of the event. He's a good young prospect. This could be that win that establishes him as a legit world title contender. I'm interested in that fight. And then you got, as one of the prelim fights, you got a former two-time world champion, Casimero, who this is the odds. So you asked me about if there was any betting odds on the the pay-per-view event, and I didn't really see any that I would jump all over. But this one, Casimero's fighting a guy who he should beat handily, and the odds were very close. Like, last I saw, he was a minus 250 or something like that. And that's nothing with the talent gap between those two fighters. Former two-division world champ we're talking about here, who's still in his young enough to be in his prime. He's not shot. He's not, past his prime or anything like that. I thought when I saw those odds, I thought, man, this is definitely a fight that offers betting value and one that bettors should jump on because Garcia is a big favorite. Even Figueroa is a big favorite. And half of the other fights, clear-cut big favorites. But this was one that offered a lot of good betting value and one that I would personally jump on.
I'm also enjoying watching that you go 12 rounds with last names. This is
I'm
really
telling
fun.
you, they can't be something simple like Johnson or Smith or Jones. We got like 5 syllables in each one. This is ridiculous.
There you go. Well, the last fight I want to touch on is still over a month out, and these names I think are a lot simpler to say. Some big news coming out of the highly anticipated Anthony Joshua versus Gerald Miller bout that is slated for June 1st. The challenger Miller failed a drug test recently on his A sample and was denied a boxing license by the New York State Athletic Commission. The champ Joshua supposed to be making his North American debut for this fight. So, Rick, what can you tell us about this whole situation and what's going on?
This is crazy. Like, this is nothing short of crazy because if they don't get this rectified, there's a good chance they have to postpone this whole event because who are they going to get in time to replace to fight the champ? Like, there's not a lot of time between now and then, and you don't want to get somebody who's not going to offer a good challenge because then it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, the fans feel cheated and everything, and especially with this being his debut. Man, I say just give it a little more time to see how everything shakes out. Wait to see some way, somehow, if they try and figure out how to get Miller still into the fight. I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but this does not look good. Like, this looks about as bad as the matchup of Khan versus Crawford. That's pretty much what it looks like.
All right, Rick Rockwell, thank you very much. Be sure to check out Rick's articles on boxing, MMA, and more online now at gamblingsites.org. I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.